Hello, good evening. Welcome. This is Hot Edition. We're live on News about Desawe Kanda, also live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. We're live on W 93.5 in Wa and beyond. I am Alfred Ocansey.
My name is Beatrice Edu.
This evening, John Mahama leads in the latest Global Analytics poll with nearly 53% of the respondents saying they will vote for him if elections were held within the month of November. Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia trails with 40.1% as he struggles to pull the numbers in MPP strongholds of the Ashanti and Insti regions. Meanwhile, 12% of voters are still undecided. 33 days to December 7 polls.
Also coming up on the program, Accra High Court throws out suit challenging the appointment of COP Tete Yohuno as Deputy Inspector General of Police. We'll tell you why.
Also, the Eastern region becomes latest to record cholera outbreak after Greater Accra and the Central region. Authorities have mounted a surveillance. We have details of that shortly.
And again, Alliance for Social Equity and Public Accountability, ASEPA, demands release of investigative report into Central Medical Stores fire.
The latest in the world of business and also on campaign trail here on your election command center will bring you exactly what's happening with the campaigns of the political parties across the country. Martin Alamisi Burns Kaiser Amido has also been speaking about the Ghana Bar Association, warning it against dangerous blind loyalty to the Chief Justice. We've got details of that shortly here on your election command center. Safa Waheng is here with a summary of the news.
Thank you, Alfred, and welcome to the news summary segment. And now to the details. The Accra High Court has dismissed an application seeking to restrain Christian Tete Yohuno from holding himself as the Deputy Inspector General of Police in charge of operations following his appointment by President Akufo-Addo. A private citizen, Emmanuel Felix Mante, described the appointment as illegal since there is no office in the Ghana Police Service set up as the Deputy IGP in charge of operations. Also, the Electoral Commission EC has dismissed allegations that excess ballot papers are being printed for the upcoming general elections. Deputy Chairman of Operations for the EC, Samuel Tete, said that the attention of the Commission had been drawn to this allegation of printing. Meanwhile, the Society of Obstetricians and Gynecologists has reported an increase in adolescent HIV cases in the country. In response, a 5-year strategic plan has been launched to promote sexual and reproductive health among girls and women. Recent data from the society reveals that 23,000 new cases have been recorded among 15 to 24-year-olds. The Second Lady, Samira Bawumia, called for increased funding for adolescents' sexual and reproductive rights to help reduce these infections. And also the National Council of Private Schools to petition the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice (RAJ) over what it believes is government's discrimination against private schools in the school placement system. Since the introduction of the SHS placement system by government in 2018, 30% of the placements have been allocated to public schools, while the remaining 70% shared between the public once again and the private schools. And to our last story. Okay, before that, Executive Director of the Commission, Enoch Kwesi Jetua, is concerned that the policy has consistently undermined efforts and investments made by the private institutions, and all efforts to reason with the appropriate authorities have proven futile. To our last story, President Akufo-Addo has assured that the 2024 general elections will be peaceful. He says that there cannot be any developments without peace, hence his resolve to ensure a peaceful poll. And this brings us to the end of our news summary segment. And over to you, Alfred.
Safa, thank you very much. And this morning is on 3news.com. Make some time and visit 3news.com. This is Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. We're also live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond, and also on W 93.5 in Wa and beyond. Let's stories now. The latest poll by Global Analytics between 28th October October and 2nd of November 2024 shows the ruling and New Patriotic Party's candidate and the current Vice President, Dr. Hammoah Agyemang, trailing the leader of the main opposition, John Mahama, by 52.7% to 40.1%, nearly a month before the voters head to the polls. Nana Kwame Bediako, the leader of the new force, attracts 4.0% of their support, while the leader of the Movement for Change, Alan Kojo Kyerematen, garnered some 1.5% of the persons who were surveyed. Others are on some 0.7%. In fact, the poll suggests Nana Kwame Bediako losing grounds after his astronomical rise in the polls in recent times. Now, the polling average for the fourth week shows John Mahama on some 52.5%, Dr. Hammoah Agyemang 40.2%, Nana Kwame Bediako 4.9%, Alan Kojo Kyerematen 1.7%, and others 0.7%. Now, let's understand a bit further on this now. Musa Dankwa is Executive Director of Global Info Analytics, joining us on the telephone right now. Mr. Dankwa, appreciate your time. Good evening. Thank you for joining us here on Hot Edition.
Good evening, and thank you for having me.
Now, I see clearly the numbers obviously tell a particular story and the direction, and it's been consistent over the period, at least over the last 6 polls that you have done. John Mahama continues to lead in there. But beyond the numbers, as we're seeing, what's the underlying message in there?
Right, thank you very much. The underlying message really is coming from 2 blocks of voters. There are more people who are backing Bawumia from the MPP bloc than they used to. He's now doing 95% among the base of MPP, which is a lot higher than he has ever been. But at the same time, he's also losing grounds among floating voters in a very significant way that if that continues, it will really make it hard for him. So these are the 2 main messages from this poll.
So he's losing grounds among the floating voters.
Yes. And at the moment, he's almost at par with Nana Kwame Bediako among floating voters.
I see. And if you could just give us a trend analysis of that. If you say he's losing grounds, how has the picture been previously as against what we are having now in the poll that was conducted between the 28th of October and 2nd November?
Right. I mean, Mahama has been doing around 53% among floating voters earlier on. It's now up to 67% of floating voters. 67. And that is quite significant. And then if you look at among the MPP voters, Bawumia was doing 88% previously, over the previous polls. It's now doing 95%. So you can see that he's gained ground within the base, but he has lost a lot of ground among the floating voters, which are the key block of voters in this country if you are to win the election.
Absolutely. I mean, floating voter population, and based on the survey you've done so far, how's been the size of the floating voter population within the surveys that or the polls that you've done, at least in the last 6 instances?
It's average between 18 and 20%. So it's a very good number.
18 to 20%?
Yes.
I see. And what I see as well in the poll is that you have another relatively huge population of the respondents who are yet to make up their minds as to who they are voting for as well. What's accounting for this?
You know, there are 2 types of those kind of voters. Some of them are really not being truthful in the sense that they don't want you to ask them more questions on the phone. So they just want you to just go away, but they know who they are voting for. And there are those who are generally undecided. Now, the clue lies in their view about where the country is headed, their view about the living condition of themselves, and then that would influence the way they vote, if you look at it critically.
And these persons who say that they are undecided, they still tell you that this country is headed where? In the right or wrong direction?
Their views is quite dim with regards to the direction of the country. About 65% of them said that the country is headed in the wrong direction. Of these 12%, 65% of them say that we're headed in the wrong direction. And then 70% of them say that their living conditions have gotten worse in the last 12 months. So if they are to decide and go to the polls, they will break heavily away from the incumbent government. And that will be a problem for Bawumia.
I see, and that's an interesting one. And another derivation from these persons who were saying they are undecided. Some of the suggested that these are probably persons who are supporters of the ruling party who do not necessarily want to also take a decision to vote for the opposing party, and so they would rather want to stay neutral. Does that also play a role?
Yes, if you look at those who say they are undecided, about 19% of them or so are MPP voters. Only 1% are NDC supporters. And 53% are floating voters. And the rest are those who don't tell us their party affiliation. So if you look at it, most of them, more than half, are floating voters. And at the moment, remember, the floating voters are voting for Hammoah by 53 points margin. So if they do decide, they will break away the same way or even higher against the incumbent party.
I see. And I look at the regional level as well. I see that even though the NPP is targeting 85% in the Ashanti region, it doesn't look like the poll is supporting that objective that they have, is it not?
No, it doesn't. If you look at the Ashanti region, the highest we've seen them be for the past 9 months is around 68%. And now in the telephone poll is averaging around 63%. That is quite low, even at the level they achieved in 2020 elections. So at the moment, because of Alan and Bediako, that target seems very, very difficult to achieve.
I see. So it is the Alan and Nana Kwame Bediako factor that is impacting on the performance of the MPP in the Ashanti region especially.
Absolutely. As well as Eastern region.
And
for the first time, the MPP is doing just above 50% in the polls in Eastern region since Bediako and Allen entered the race.
So you see that's Nana Kwame Bediako and Alan Choma taking a lot more of the MPP votes than the NDC votes in these two regions, as Ashanti and Eastern region.
Yes, I believe that the NDC vote is intact. But the vote that they are at the moment sharing is the MPP vote in Ashanti and Eastern region.
But you see as well that Nana-Addo is still, President Akufo-Addo is still popular amongst NPP supporters. So it stands to reason that you would have thought that they would translate or transfer that same support to Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, but that's not happening.
No, it's not happening. And indeed, if you look at the data that we have published, you can see that among the accounts, Bawumia's level of support isn't the same as they give to Nana-Addo in 2020. In fact, Bawumia is struggling in the Akan areas than the rest of the country. If you look at the recent poll that we just did, he has dropped in the Akan regions, while Mahama has increased in the Akan regions. And in the Akan regions, we mean all the in Ashanti region, Eastern, Central, Western, North, Bono, Ahafo, and Bono East put together. Bawumia is struggling.
And on that question about the direction of the country, whether it's heading in the wrong or right direction, what was the outcome?
If you look at the outcome, majority of the voters are saying that we are not headed in the right direction. And nearly 60-something%, I don't have the figures off my head, but it's in 60s, and those numbers have been stable at that level for a very long time. It's not trending down. For the government to reap the benefit of that in the polls, the numbers who think the country is headed the wrong way should be trending down. At the moment, it doesn't. And indeed, for those who say Nana-Addo has done well or performed, it's still very low, around 34%. That number has to trend up for it to translate into affirmative vote for Bawumia. At the moment, it is not.
Mr. Danko, I appreciate your time on this. Thank you. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Musa Dankwa, Executive Director of Global Info Analytics, there clearly indicating, and in fact, you'll find the full details of that survey, the latest poll conducted between 30th October and the 2nd of November. On 3news.com and also on 3FM927 on Facebook right now, indicating the floating voters, 53% of them gravitating towards John Mahama and a little over 40% to Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia.
Let's head to the courts now, and the Accra High Court has dismissed an application seeking to restrain Christian Teteyono from holding himself as the Deputy Inspector General of Police in charge of operations, following President Akufo-Addo's President Akufo-Addo on July 17 appointed COP Yohono as a Deputy IGP upon advice and recommendation by the Police Council. However, a private citizen, Emmanuel Felix Mante, contends that the appointment is illegal, claiming that there is no office in the Ghana Police Service set up as the Deputy IGP. In his statement of case, his lawyers argued that the Constitution only recognized the office of the Inspector General of Police and did not create, quote, a Deputy Inspector General of Police, unquote. He also noted that the Police Service Act 1970, Act 350, does not also create a Deputy Inspector General of Police position. He said the only legislation that purports to create the office of the Deputy Inspector General of Police is the Police Service Regulation 2012 CJ 76. Under the CI 76, the Deputy Inspector General of Police is broad and generic without any subdivisions, such as Deputy Inspector General of Police in charge of operations. Now, he also prayed the court for the following release: that first, an order of prohibition restraining COP Mr. Christian Teteyono from acting or purporting to act in the role of Deputy Inspector General of Police in charge of operations. B, an order of prohibition restraining the respondent from carrying out any action in furtherance of the appointment of COP Mr. Christian Teteyono as Deputy Inspector General of Police in charge of operations. C, an order of quo warranto directed at COP Christian Teteyono in respect of his appointment by the President of Ghana, as in that appointment by the President of Ghana contained in the statement dated 17th July to the position of a Deputy Inspector General of Police in charge of operations. But the preliminary objections, Counsel for the Police, led by Angel, argued this case out, and we'll bring you more in our subsequent bulletins.
Now, let's still stay on matters of politics right now, because some 33 days to election day, December 7 here on your election command center. The flag bearer of the NDC has arrived in the OT region to kickstart his regional campaign tour. John Mahama, after taking a one-day break of his campaign to take part in the peace campaign on Sunday under the auspices of the Ghana Pentecostal Council, the Christian Council, and the Office of National Chief Imam. This morning, John Mahama is in Kwame Krum of the Biakoya constituency. Our correspondent Komala Kluche is joining us right now. Is moving every step of the way with the campaign team of John Dramani Mahama, that's the NDC flag bearer. Shortly, will be telling us exactly what's been happening there in the Ochi region and what John Mahama has been saying specifically about issues relating to the happenings within that particular region. We'll get you details of that shortly here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Remember, we're also live on Kesme 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. We're live on W 93.5 in Wa and beyond. 21 minutes after 5 here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Also, before we get back to the OT region, the flag bearer of the new patriotic party, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, says he will roll out new policies to regulate mining communities in the country. And this is one of many issues. The new policy, according to Dr. Hammoah Agyemang, will include the involvement of chiefs in the mining concessions. He again says he will facilitate the setting up of a mining bank. He was addressing people of Ntobroso in the Agyemang constituency as part of his Ashanti region tour.
80 years Geological Survey Authority for open maps in actually and baby gold war so that you won't do trial and error to start with. They are share community mining schemes. They are licensing miners so that we are you are not allowed to do this. You will be licensed according to the law. You will work according to the law as long as you don't mine irresponsibly. Also, the person I am also all the mining concessions in all your jurisdictions, maybe a the concessions no aircon. The chiefs must have an interest and a share in those concessions. Mobinia share in the concessions so that you keep an interest in all the concessions so that will be very important. This will mean the Shishe Minerals Development Bank, the bank for miners. The bank for miners are ever Guamo said a mobile equipment to do proper responsible mining.
As Dr. Hammoah Agyemang, the flag bearer of the MPP, it's going to be more of this on Campaign Trail here on your Election Command Center. Stay with us.
Now to the Eastern region, where the Regional Health Directorate has confirmed its first case of cholera in the Abuakwa South municipality. Regional Health Director Winfred Owusu tells 3FM that the contact of the case is being traced to contain the spread while heightening surveillance in the region.
We received alert from the national level on the outbreak of cholera in Greater Accra region, some district. We intensify our own surveillance on diarrhea diseases, as well as health events in communities and things which can lead us to identification of a case of cholera should it happen within our region. And I must say on the 31st October, we had a report of a student who had just returned from vacation to school in Kibi Secondary Technical School. And he started showing signs suggestive of cholera. So immediately, sample was taken for investigation whilst he was sent to the hospital for management. And the results showed that indeed it was a cholera case. So we immediately activated the containment measures to make sure that the District Emergency Operations Center, regional, all started working. And then one of the first things we do is to look out for close contacts within the school and outside. So we had a total of 33 close contacts. And these contacts are on our radar. We are monitoring them. But as at now, they are all fine. They have not shown, none of them has shown any sign of any illness of cholera. And the good news also is that the student is making remarkable recovery. So we are happy about that. So that's so far about that. We have also elected all the other districts in the region about this particular case. And so they've also stepped up surveillance and also monitoring community events, just like this one, to make sure that should we have any case anywhere else, we can quickly identify it and put in containment measures to make sure that cholera doesn't spread to a wider population. So far, that's the situation in the Eastern region.
And you heard the Eastern Regional Director of Health for the Ghana Health Service, Winfred Ofosu, speaking exclusively to our Eastern Regional Correspondent, Yvonne Nekwe, who joins us live on the line now. Yvonne, if you can hear us, I know you visited the area which has been struck. I think earlier today, the report we had was about 30 infections and 5 deaths. Can you paint a picture for us, really, the nature of settlement in that community? Okay, so we seem to have lost Yvonne Nekwe on the line, but we'll reconnect to her and bring you more from what's happening in that part of the country.
It's live here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. We're also live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. We're also on W 93.5 in Wa and beyond. Some news just coming through. The Akano Sector Command of the Ghana Immigration Service has intercepted 54 gallons of fuel at Kopiria near the Pogolo border post on suspicion of an attempt to smuggle them into Togo. A press statement made available to the GNA, which we have seen a copy of right now, and signed by Michael Amakwanta, Assistant Commissioner of Immigration and Head of Public Affairs, said the arrest was made by Inspector Ebenezer Asa Apia, Assistant Inspector Israel Gidisu, and ICU Benjamin Pra during routine patrols. The statement said the gallons were on board a Toyota Carina vehicle with Togolese registration number TG 9378AQ and had since been tested by officials of the National Petroleum Authority in Ho. The Ghana Immigration Service cautioned border residents and the public against acts that were against the laws of the country and adversely affected Ghana's economy. Residents, quote, are further cautioned that the service is on a heightened border patrols along the borders, especially the unapproved ones, and anyone caught engaged in cross-border crimes will be made to face the full rigors of the law. That's according to the statement by the Ghana Immigration Service on this report of the interception of some 54 gallons of fuel being allegedly smuggled to Togo.
And let's return to the Eastern region. Yvonne Nekwe joins us live on the line. Yvonne, I was asking you earlier to paint a picture for us of the community struck by this cholera outbreak, and was saying that earlier the report was that 30 people had been infected with 5 deaths. What do we know?
Well, which is the municipality we're talking about is not listed as one of the municipal assemblies which has environmental issue. This is a case that had traveled from the Eastern region, specifically Kaswa, to a school in that particular municipality. And this has been what we've been investigating, because we do know that the regions where the issues are coming from, Greater Accra and Central region, are closer regions to the Eastern region. And so if people continue traveling across the stretch, it means that we will be having cases as we have seen right now. And so the health directorate is advising that people continue to wash their hands regularly so that we don't have transmission of such cases into communities, especially in schools. You do know that several of our schools do have increasing numbers, and so if we have a case of this kind happening, we might be having a lot of cases on our hands.
Yvonne, let me get you clearly. So it's not like it is coming from this community or communities. These cases are imported from Greater Accra and other regions. That's what you're saying?
Exactly what you have just mentioned. This particular case is an imported one from the Central region to the Eastern region, and it is not a case of having it in communities in the Eastern region.
Earlier, what we had in terms of information was that 30 people had been infected with 5 deaths. Is there a change in the statistics?
Well, the Eastern region having had such cases confirmed yet. What we do know is the one case that the health directorate has confirmed to us this evening, that they have confirmed that case in its facilities. But for the other suspected cases, we are yet to have those numbers recorded.
And we heard the health director, Mr. Fosuda, giving you that exclusive information. Beyond that, what do we know in terms of what they are doing to curb the situation?
Well, beyond that, he says that prevalence have been heightened in communities, and then all health facilities across the region have also been asked to ensure that they track every case that comes to their facility. And then as well, school authorities liaise with the health facilities to report any case they find quickly to ensure that the cases are being dealt with, for us not to record any death situation as we're seeing the cholera upsurge.
Yvonne, before you go, very briefly, how are people reacting to the outbreak and indeed what they are being told to do to prevent themselves from getting infected?
Well, the eastern region, part of the eastern region, we do know is vulnerable to cholera, the Nsawam area. But because this is an imported case, it's a bit surprising to people in the eastern region. And so for them, it means that people will have to be cautious, adhere to the stringent measures of not defecating in the open, washing their hands, eating very hot food to ensure that proactively they're protecting themselves against the disease.
Thank you very much, Yvonne Ekwe. She's our Eastern Region correspondent, bringing us updates on the cholera situation there.
Still live here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Let's go to some issues of education, because the National Council of Private Schools, they are set to petition the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice charge over what it believes is government's discrimination against private schools in the school placement system. Since the introduction of the senior high school placement system by government in 2018, 30% of the placement have been allocated to public schools, while the remaining 70% shared amongst or between the public and the private schools. Executive Director of the Commission, Ocansey, is concerned that the policy has consistently undermined efforts and investment made by the private institutions, and all efforts to reason with government appears unproductive and has also proven futile. Joining us on the telephone, Obenfo Ocansey is the President of the National Council of Private Schools. Good evening. Thank you for joining us here on Hot Edition.
Good evening, Alfred. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. I'm sure with what I'm saying right now, it appears the private schools are not well and you're not happy. What's going on?
Yes, so good evening to your cherished listeners, yourself. We know very well that private schools over the years have been supporting government and implementing educational delivery in Ghana. But recently we have witnessed certain sort of changes that are really affecting our education in terms of policies that the government has actually introduced. We know that getting to the category A schools is based on merit, and even state policy directive principles enshrined in our constitution speaks to that effect. But government haven't recognized that the performances of the public schools learners from the BECE examination is not up to the standard. And for that matter, government has reserved 30% of the category A schools to the public schools learners. We see this as discriminatory. We see it as an affront to the fundamental human rights of learners, and for that matter, we are set to petition SHRAJ as an investigative body, as an independent body, to investigate the matter. A quick update on it is that ministry, having hearing this, has called for a sort of consultation, but we are not abating our position, because we feel that kind of meetings, that kind of consultative discussions have over the years been held, and no positivity outcome has been emerged. And for that matter, we are set, all signatures have been received from across the country, and it's also interesting to inform your listeners that the Ghana National Association, the proprietors unit of the council, has also given their consent. The teachers body also have also given their consent. And we are working together to bring all stakeholders that are matters in this. We are also working assiduously to ensure that parents who have been affected also get their signatures to support this petition. And for that matter, we call government to book to find out whether or not such policies is in line with our state principles in terms of the delivery of education is in line with the Article 17, Clause 2, in terms of discriminatory aspect of issues that are affecting the children in Ghana. You shouldn't forget that, Afro, we are talking about learners, and their issues are very delicate. It's so sudden and so adverse for someone to sit and write DEC and pass, and for the inability of someone not being able to provide educational outcome in the preparation of a child to write this exam, then the government used its own discretion to say that I've reserved 30% of the Category A schools to their counterparts in the public schools, just to punish those who have just passed their exams. So that is the situation on that we are facing now.
But it appears that this matter is not new. Mr. Chitwa, I've spoken to you before. I think about 3 years ago, you raised this matter, this concern, and it's coming up again. So it's a clear indication that not much has been achieved. So what are you expecting differently this time around?
Yes. So over the years, as I already indicated, we decided to go with the issue of negotiation, because we are also partners in education, and sometimes some of the issues happen. We need to judge and find a lasting solutions to that. So yes, I agree with you. We have not achieved any substantive issues or substantive outcome from the discussions, from the meetings that we have held with the ministry. That is why we have decided not to meet any ministry calling again, because we've been receiving some calls for us to come for meetings and all that. At this point in time, we believe that once we test the law of Ghana and the law tells us that we are wrong, we will agree by it and then do whatever we have to do. But since we have not gone to the fullest aspect of the law, we are not abating our position, and we believe that at this point in time, the law will speak for the vulnerable children in Ghana whose right has been trampled upon.
I see, but you talk about now the ministry now reaching out to you after you give this indication that you're going to petition the Commission on Human Rights and Chief Justice Charge on this matter. What are they saying now that they've reached out to you today?
It is the same story, and we don't want to even go in there, because our position is very clear. We live in the country that are governed by law. In as much as we are all in the education sector, that we develop education together, we wouldn't sit down aloof for our right to be trampled upon. We just want to remind the ministry that the work of private education is not a criminal activity in Ghana. The Article 25 Clause 2 actually states the position of private education in Ghana, and it is a constitutional mandate. So gone are the days that we were, having discussions, hoping to see that good things will come out. It's past and gone. And whatever discussions that we have, they should meet us as right and explain it to us.
You're not going to sit with the ministry, even if they ask for a meeting?
We have sat down with them for a very long period of time. And at this point in time, we want an independent body to come in. Going to strike is not, it's part of the governance structures in Ghana. It's part of our administrative processes in Ghana. And they have jurisdiction. So we want to activate that and see what comes out. If we go there and we explain our point, they also explain their point, and it comes out that what they are doing is right, fair enough. If it comes out that what they are doing is is wrong, that is the verdict, and we all go by it. If they don't agree, they can proceed. If we also don't agree, because we are prepared to go to the fullest, decision body in this matter, so that our minds will be settled. Because we don't understand that a single individual will try as much as possible to provide educational materials, to mentor and monitor teachers, and being able to achieve an outcome that is all we are expecting in education. The government of the day, that all the resources in terms of taxes, in terms of materials, in terms of teaching professionals and all that has been at your disposal, come out to say that the infrastructures in the private education is so potent in the sense that it boosts learning, and for that matter, their learners must be deprived. In order for us to fix the rotten bottle, we are rather washing around it. So we cannot phantom and understand after this kind of position that the ministry, because we see that policy as a knee-jerk policy. It does not connote any kind of reasonability in it. To be honest and sincere, it doesn't come out very clear. Because how can you come out to say that as part of affirmative policy to eradicate learning outcomes and the shortfalls in education, we are just providing 30% allocation to a child who had aggregate 40, to a child who had aggregate 46. Some of the category A schools, senior high schools, are not happy about this. But because they work directly under the ministry, they are unable to come out to say the truth. Because how can you get aggregate 50, aggregate 48, and government is saying that I'm sending you to a category A school like Yasantua or this kind of school? It does not meet. It does not connote any kind of understanding.
Okay. Zito, appreciate your time. Thank you very much on this matter, and we'll see how the petition you're sending to Shraj will play out. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Obinfo Nana Kwesi Chitua is the president of the National Council of Private Senior High Schools, talking to us there. They are going to petition the Commission on Human Rights Administrative Justice Shraj over what it believes is government's discrimination against private schools in the school, that's a senior secondary or senior high school placement system. We have details of that. You can find it on 3news.com. Make some time and visit 3news.com. Now, the Society of Obstetricians and Gynecologists has reported an increase in adolescent HIV cases in the country. In response, a 5-year strategic plan has been launched to promote sexual and reproductive health among girls and women. Recent data from the society reveals that 23,000 new cases have been recorded in 15 to 24-year-olds. Addressing the Society of Obstetricians and Gynecologists Science Conference in Koforidua, Samira Baomia, wife of the Vice President, called for increased funding for adolescent sexual and reproductive health rights to help reduce infections.
We need policy and funding support. Advocacy for policy changes that support adolescent reproductive health is critical. Increased funding and national policy mandate for adolescent-friendly health facilities are necessary. Countries that have implemented dedicated policies and funding for adolescent reproductive health report a reduction in adolescent HIV infections and STIs. We can drive the national agenda forward. Prioritizing adolescent sexual and reproductive health, again, is
Samira Baumia there. The Ministry of Health Technical Advisor Dr. Deleus Osei Kusi says the effects of unhealthy sexual behaviors amongst adolescents also undermine the country's economic gains and stress the need for urgent actions.
New infections among adolescents increasing. Further compounding challenges such as teenage pregnancies and socioeconomic vulnerabilities. Chairman, without a decisive response, the growing HIV burden on adolescents threatens to derail our development efforts. Addressing this situation demands urgent action, and this is where the role of specialized practitioners like obstetricians, gynecologists becomes indispensable.
Also, the president of the Society of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, Dr. Ali Samba, pointed out that evidence-based interventions along with robust policies was crucial.
The trend we observe is not merely a statistic. It represents young people whose futures are compromised by preventable circumstances. Recent data indicate that Ghana is experiencing an upward trend in adolescent HIV cases, a reality that calls for immediate evidence-based interventions. Policy reform is equally crucial. We need laws and guidelines that protect adolescent rights and promote safe, supportive environments.
In Ghana, the picture is just as concerning.
You have there the president of the Society of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, Dr. Ali Samba. They're so live here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7, also on Kesme 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. We're live on W93.5 in Wambiana. And some stories. Former Attorney General Martin Alamisi Burns Kaiser Amido has voiced strong criticism of the Ghana Bar Association's unequivocal endorsement of the Chief Justice's court closures in Bogotanga. In a recent article, he describes the GBS support as dangerous for our constitution, democracy, and the rule of law. He cautioned that unqualified loyalty to the Chief Justice's administrative decisions risks undermining the judicial system's independence. And also, he further stated that citizens should expect judicial decisions that are both independent and transparent. Mr. Amido's critique extended to the relationship between the judiciary and national security, questioning whether the Chief Justice had acted on independent judgment or based on instructions from national security. He emphasized the need for greater transparency in decisions affecting public access to justice, especially in the wake of the electoral season tensions. Amid questions the Chief Justice closure of the Upper East Courts, the former Attorney General openly criticized the Chief Justice's administrative decision to close the courts in Boko and surrounding areas. He described as unprecedented and detrimental to citizens' rights the decision to close the courts, including the regional capital, Bogotanga. The Chief Justice, according to a memorandum issued by the Judicial Secretary, justified the closures as a safe measure due to escalating security concerns in there. However, there's also some more conversation about the outcome of the decision by the Supreme Court on the application by the Speaker to have that declaration by the Supreme Court to stay the execution of the Speaker's decision on the 4 seats. Sometime that was last week, Thursday. Now, the private legal practitioner Martin Ebo indicates that to the extent that the President appoints all these justices of the Supreme Court, it sends a signal that the Supreme Court is a political institution. This is what he had to say.
You see several lawyers, Kingsley is here, Bobby, Honorable Daffy, myself. They'll tell you that what we need to understand is that in law, we have different philosophical schools of thought. So it depends on where you belong. It depends on where you belong. So you see that's how come one key thing I keep saying that if you want to understand this Supreme Court decision, you need to understand the philosophical leanings of the judges. So this thing that they have jurisdiction, it belongs to one school of thought. So if you don't belong there, so if you are literalist, you will say, oh yes, they see that, one person says the actions of the 4 MPs are not to take effect in this particular parliament, and so they belong to the future, right? So because one says it's for the future, and another group of people say no, the actions of the 4 MPs will affect their seats in the current parliament, then it means that there's a dispute.
Right.
So if you do it literally like that, you would actually say the Supreme Court doesn't have the Supreme Court was right? But when you are a realist, you're a realist, then you go beyond just what you see literally. What I see beyond this one saying, oh, it's for the future, and this one saying, no, the 4 seats, their actions by going to file independent, etc., will affect them currently, is that there is politics at play here. If you say it affects them today, MPP will become the minority, and NDC will become the majority. So quickly, people will go and hide behind constitutional provisions. I'm a realist. I'm not going to do that. Oh, if you go by the literalist approach, the guidelines from the Supreme Court, well, long ago, from Tufuo versus Attorney General, there are too many Supreme Court decisions. We don't want to go into Supreme Court decisions and make this overly technical. So I'll just make the main points. So if you're just going by the literalist approach, you say the Supreme Court has jurisdiction. But if you're a realist, you see that this is a ruse The provision is very clear, and the same Supreme Court. Look, lawyers will tell you, even Bobby was there recently, the celebrities doing adverts, etc., right? There are many decisions they will tell you that, look, this thing, they don't see anything wrong. There's no interpretation arising. The thing is very clear. Don't come and waste our time here, right? Yeah, they even sometimes, from the way they react, it's just like we are not doing a good job as lawyers, right? They say, but this thing is clear. Why are you wasting our time, etc.? I'm telling you that 97 clause 1, G and H are also very clear to me. But I'm a realist because what I see beneath this case is plain politics, partisan politics, NDC versus MPP, which has been dressed up as a constitutional interpretation matter, but it is not. So, because we have different jurisprudential views, etc., you find the Supreme Court saying for them they see a jurisdictional issue. So on that basis, you can't fault them because you see, finally, they are the ones you've given the power to. We can't fault them right now, but rather what we will begin to fault is the Constitution and the power of the president to appoint. Because when the president is appointing, I told you, I mentioned the week before last week, the president will not appoint Honorable Dafia Mepo because he knows Dafia Mepo is what? MPP. NDC, right? I'm switching you.
That's Martin Pebble, is private legal practitioner there. We await the Supreme Court's decision on the substantive matter on the 11th of November. Remain your election command center. Stay with us. We're back shortly after this quick break. Michael Ogbodu is standing by with the latest in the world of business here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Stay with us. The most comprehensive election coverage.
Top-notch presenters and well-versed analysts.
Dedicated reporters and correspondents in every nook and cranny across the country.
All the action, every incident reported.
All the big stories covered.
All facts cross-checked. Every figure verified.
Every vote monitored and accounted for.
The numbers tallied, analyzed, and interpreted.
We have invested time and energy in order to bring you a comprehensive elections coverage.
The whole world will be watching us on TV, online, and radio.
Election Command Center. Facts, analysis, results.
Well, hello there. Good evening and welcome to the business segment with me, Michael Ogbodu. Coming up tonight, freight forwarders accuse shipping lines of fueling cedi depreciation and soaring prices as they call on Ghanaians to join fight against unfair charges. Details coming up shortly. Please stay. Well, let's bring you details of our top story now, as the Coalition of Freight Forwarders Association has blamed shipping lines operating in Ghana for the poor performance of the cedi and the high cost of goods in the country. As a press conference held to protest the shipping lines, which they described as imposing arbitrary charges and engaging in unfair practices, the association called on Ghanaians to join the fight against the illegitimate activities of some of the shipping companies. John Mante is chairman of the Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders, TEMA.
Imagine, 90% of everything that comes to this country, you are the one that is bringing the cargo. The shipping lines are the ones that bring in the cargo. So the charges we pay to them, they have tons of money, free money. We are saying that play fair. If you are asking me to come to work on a weekend, make sure you are there. But they don't come to Ghana, they are charging me USD. You are charging me administrative fee. For what work done? I am moving my cargo from Ohio to Tema. What happens is that I pay administrative fee at the port of loading. When I come here, all I have to do is come and show you my bill of lading. You direct me to the port and I go and pick my cargo. You are charging me administrative in United States dollars. Now, after they've collected all these monies in trillions of Ghana cedis, what do you think they are using the money for? They don't need your cedis. They go to the market for the dollars. The reason why you keep finding the dollars going up.
So that was Chairman of the Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders, Tema John Mante, speaking there. Away from that, Chief Executive of Nguvo Mining, Angela List, is urging stakeholders to strengthen local content policies as the sector remains heavily reliant on imported equipment. According to her, increasing local production of mining implement could cut costs, support Ghanaian businesses, and generate more jobs, aligning with national goals to deepen local participation in mining. She made this known in a yet-to-be-aired interview on TV3's Business Focus.
I mean, it's work in progress. It's really about encouraging more local content in the manufacturing space. Unfortunately, most of the implements we use for mining are imported. So I'd like to see a lot more in manufacturing, the consumables that we use in mining. So it's more in the electric space. So, with improved technology, we're seeing more electric operated equipment. Recently, Liebherr and Fortescue Minerals, have come up with an excavator, quite a huge one that's completely electric driven. So those would help with emissions and the like. That's really the space.
So that was Chief Executive of Nguvo Mining, Angela List, and be reminded that the full interview will air tomorrow on Business Focus on TV3 at 5 p.m. sharp. Now, cocoa farmers in Ghana are hoarding beans in anticipation of higher prices. That's according to reports from international news agency Reuters. The global cocoa market has been looking to recover from last year's poor harvest. According to the report, farmers, buyers, and officials from the state regulator in Cocoa Board in Ghana confirmed that traders have been hoarding cocoa beans. The scale of stocking is not yet clear. Officials and sources told Reuters that farmers were reacting to comments by Ghana's Vice President Mahamudu Bawumia about government's plan to raise prices for cocoa farmers. Ghana lost more than a third of its 2023-2024 cocoa output to smuggling, according to Cocoa Board officials quoted by Reuters. Last year, Ghana's cocoa output fell to a more than a decade low, which pushed global prices to record highs. Well, on that note, that'll be all for the business segment here on Hot Edition. For more business stories, please check out our website. It's 3news.com/business. I am Michael Obudu. Thank you for listening. As always, please stay safe. Up next, the sports, and Bill is on standby.
The most comprehensive election coverage.
Top-notch presenters and well-versed analysts.
Dedicated reporters and correspondents in every nook and cranny across the country.
All the action, every incident reported. All the big stories covered.
All facts cross-checked. Every figure verified.
Every vote monitored and accounted for.
The numbers tallied, analyzed, and interpreted.
We have invested time and energy in order to bring you a comprehensive elections coverage.
The whole world will be watching us on TV, online, and radio.
Election Command Center. Facts, analysis, results.
Hello there, good evening and welcome to the sports segment here on the 3FM Hot Edition. My name is Bill Ishen. Now later tonight, Young Apostles will be playing against Legon Cities in the Ghana Premier League, and both sides will be looking for victories, especially Legon Cities, who are currently at the bottom of the Ghana Premier League table. Young Apostles have 9 points and are also searching for a victory to move potentially to the top half of the standings. But the biggest news in the Ghana Premier League was Asante Kotoko, who lost by 1-0 against the Bando Hearts of Lions at the Langley Sports Stadium in Obuasi on Sunday. But one concerning bit was the potential injury of Kotoko striker Albert Hammoah, who scored 5 goals for the Porcupines this season. Here's an update from head coach Prosper Nati Ogum.
He had a kick direct at the side of the knee. It's swollen and it's very painful. And as at the time I was coming in here, he couldn't walk. He had to be helped to get on board the bus. So it looks serious, but I think we have a competent medical staff that will be able to address it. So I'm sure by Tuesday we'll be able to go on the street.
We'll be expecting more updates on Albert Hammoah by Tuesday. And remember, Kotoko has only one out-and-out striker, and that is Albert. So him going on injury is not good news for Asante Kotoko. And of course, Kotoko fans were unhappy with that defeat after Kotoko lost back-to-back games in the Ghana Premier League.
And the rest of Kotoko supporters in Somunya Butre, board the Sano, Babia Sanity. You used to cross about 5 or 4, 3. Board the San is loose blood. And supporters, Munya Butre, board the Duman Aban, with the Biase, from Atlantic and Antipata.
One more Morini, and Omid is a Morini. Who said, your coach in the dear. Sampanifoni Tiania. The last match I had, Wabama Yani, yes, 114 into my uncle. Young to me, I say, now one go, better now. I wait in some if I want go, no, I say in Fanco. Now, my Kotoko League, now, pass I had League in the Moyen. Players, I also to be a two for the room. I must cut to players. No, after Debium, any I Kotoko Yaba Pata, near Debrania or Hawana Yadeco. And to coach in India, on the team into my now, uncle. Ramas.
But you are only a level of coach or say you flew. Coach, that's why you are. Oh, when you fall from now, let's be a movie. You want to lose you. You want much will be they are one day. Then you fall from now.
The Kotoko fans definitely want Dr. Prosper Nati Ogum sacked from the club as it stands. But here are the standings in the Ghana Premier League. Bibiani Gold Stars are on top with 19 points. Nations FC second with 16. Asante Kotoko third with 15. And Mediama are currently fourth with 15 points. At the bottom side, we have Accra Lions who are 16th with 8 points. Dreams FC 17th with 5 points, and Legon Cities are right at the bottom also with 5 points. But let's move on to European football, where Ruben Amorim has been a talked about subject after it was confirmed that he will be the next manager of Manchester United following the sacking of Erik ten Hag. Now, Ruben Amorim in his presser explained why he chose Manchester United.
Obviamente. Well, obviously. Que isso passa pela. It has to do. Well, that's something that crosses one's mind, but I never had any doubts. My decision has been made, and that's the club I want to work for. That's the context I want to work in, and that's where I want to continue my career as a coach. Of course, that's something that crosses one's mind, that crossed my mind. But when I decided for the club that I want, and I didn't want anything else. So the decision is a decision that I thought about, but I was not undecided about it. I wanted Manchester United, and that's what I did.
He indeed wanted Manchester United. That was Ruben Amorim, the upcoming coach for Manchester United. But staying in the Premier League, Liverpool have been on fire this season, and it's partly thanks to Mohamed Salah, who got the decisive goal as they defeated Brighton by 2-1. Now, Arne Slot, who's the head coach of the club, has been appreciative of Mohamed Salah's form.
There's no reason at the moment to think that he is dropping in terms of level. That's not what you look at his numbers, and that's also not what you see when you see him play. So but I don't know how to say this in English, but I cannot tell you how the future will look like. So for some players, they can. Cristiano Ronaldo, what age is he at the moment? He's still doing really well. Messi is still incredible. So, but there were also players that, like me, that weren't as good anymore when they were 33. Not that I was so good when I was 26, but I regressed a bit earlier than Ronaldo and Messi.
That was Anslot talking about Mohamed Salah's form and involving Ronaldo and Messi, who have also been on fire for their respective clubs. But tomorrow is the UEFA Champions League, and here's a reminder of the fixtures ahead of this encounters. Now, PSG versus Girona, Slovan Bratislava versus Dinamo Zagreb, Bologna versus Monaco, Celtic versus RB Leipzig, Dortmund versus Sturm Graz, Lille versus Juventus, Liverpool versus Bayer Leverkusen, and Real Madrid versus AC Milan. We have Sporting CP also versus Manchester City. So Amorim versus Pep Guardiola. A lot of Manchester United fans will be watching this encounter, and also that of Real Madrid versus AC Milan because of Vinicius, who missed out on the Ballon d'Or as Rodri was crowned the winner. But before I do go, let's move on to tennis, where Alexander Zverev won the Paris 1000 title, Paris Masters, after defeating Hugo Humbert 6-2, 6-2. And he's been speaking to the media, highlighting that he is ready to keep going until the end of the tennis season.
Yeah, I mean, look, I won a Masters, so I'm obviously very happy about that, and especially I think today in the final, I played a pretty good match. I think solid from the start till the end, and yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to one last tournament in Turin this year, and yeah, hopefully I can finish the season strong.
Hopefully he can finish the season strong. That is according to Alexander Zverev, who is the current world number 2 in tennis after winning the Paris Masters. But that brings an end to the sports segment here on the 3FM Hot Edition. My name is Bill Ishen. We have Alfred and the rest of the team with a lot more.
The most comprehensive election coverage.
Top-notch presenters and well-versed analysts.
Dedicated reporters and correspondents in every nook and cranny across the country.
All the action, every incident reported.
All the big stories covered.
All facts cross-checked. Every figure verified.
Every vote monitored and accounted for.
The numbers tallied, analyzed, and interpreted.
We have invested time and energy in order to bring you a comprehensive elections coverage.
The whole world will be watching us on TV, online, and radio.
Election Command Center. Facts, analysis, results.
This is 3FM 92.7, your election command center.
Election Command Center. Facts, analysis, results.
Imagine a place where voices matter, where every corner, every street, every community is a platform.
A big bus moving through Accra, carrying conversations, questions, and the pulse of the nation. This is not just another show, it's your voice on the move.
Join us as 3FM Sunrise hits the road, turning ordinary streets into platforms for extraordinary dialogue. Speak freely, listen deeply, and help shape the conversation that drives Ghana forward.
Look out for the bus and tune in exclusively on 3FM 92.7, your urban lifestyle radio.
Hey, ready
to make your drive home epic? It's the 3FM Drive with the one and only Giovanni Killen right here on 3FM 92.7. Weekdays, 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. We're transforming your commute into a top-tier experience. Need a pick-me-up? Our music belt is pure energy, pure vibes. Stay ahead with the Drive Sports, bringing you the latest scores and highlights. Curious about the stars? We've got all the hottest trends, celebrity profile interviews, plus DJ faculty has got you.
Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays on 3FM Drive. You know where it's at.
This is where the action is at, live on the 3FM Drive on 3FM 92.7. Welcome to the 3FM Drive. That's right!
The most comprehensive election coverage.
Top-notch presenters and well-versed analysts.
Dedicated reporters and correspondents in every nook and cranny across the country.
All the action, every incident reported. All the big stories covered.
All facts cross-checked. Every figure verified.
Every vote monitored and accounted for.
The numbers tallied, analyzed, and interpreted.
We have invested time and energy in order to bring you a comprehensive elections coverage.
The whole world will be watching us on TV, online, and radio.
Election Command Center. Facts, analysis, results.
The law, as long as you don't find irresponsible. The person and also all the mining concessions in all your jurisdictions, maybe the concessions no aircon. The chiefs must have an interest and a share in those concessions. Mobinia share in the concessions so that you keep an interest in all the concessions so that will be very important. This will mean the Shishe Minerals Development Bank, mean the bank for miners. The bank for miners are able to send a mobile equipment to do proper, responsible mining.
As the Vice President flag bearer of the MPP there, Dr. Hammoah Agyemang, also speaking about reducing food importation through an agriculture mechanization system under his presidency.
Rice imports apart from by 45% reduction. And then Yamia don't make a cost of 1 year so NJB Ghana, importing rice. You're self-sufficient in rice. Asana planting for food and jobs, no, then fast war, Abba, we share cocoa if we are for so. Yaboa cocoa if we are for. Cocoa rehabilitation program no yeboa holy sheet disease yet media cocoa for libre abeboa if we are for cocoa price per bag so up from 475 to 3,000 Ghana cedis per bag of cocoa.
Daniel Opoko is a man with the Dr. Hammoah Agyemang campaign team. Is joining us on the telephone right now. Daniel, what more has the Vice President been saying?
Right, so good evening to you, Alfred. The Vice President began his campaign this morning at Hammoah, which you played the soundbite a short while ago, where he engaged the people of Ntobrase. And as Alfred, it's important to place on record that Ntobrase is a community predominantly controlled by miners, and according to the chief, since elections, no presidential candidate has come to that community to campaign. So obviously, Dr. Hammoah Agyemang is the first candidate to move to the community campaign, where he gave an assurance of trying to set up a bank to also support miners and to regulate and sanitize the mining environment. And most importantly, when he moved on from there, he addressed party faithful at the same constituency as Hammoah, where he gave them the assurance of constructing a railway from Accra to Kumasi and also from through Nyinani to the northern part of the country. That will be his primary focus, even though he acknowledged the fact that the road construction have not been completed, or a lot of roads are in a deplorable state. But his primary focus will be on to revitalize the railway sector that we have. Then right from Agyemang, the vice president moved to Webeja South. Webeja South, where he was engaging another party faithful and also what we call the Community Connect, and also chiefs. And the chiefs, we call them the stakeholders. Stakeholders basically are the Muslim clerics, the clergy, and also the opinion leaders in the community, where it's an excess of $7 to $10 million to be used to support the private sector. Us and those who have their own businesses, the government is going to earmark some funds to support them. And most importantly, women also in businesses are also going to be given some soft loans, and also agriculture is going to be the base of its development. But currently, as I speak to you, the vice president has to move from Webeja South to Webeja North, where he's currently having stakeholder engagement that's meeting the traditional leaders and also the clergy and the Muslim clerics, trying to sell his ideas to them. And I find it's important to say that the reception has been quite encouraging from all the constituencies that the vice president has visited, especially when it came to the Webeja South. The number and the crowd was really, really very huge, and they have reposed their confidence in the vice president. They are going to vote for him so that his policies can be put to fruition.
Where is he moving next, Daniel?
Currently, he has moved to Webeja North, where he's in the stakeholder engagement with the chiefs. When he meets the traditional leaders, what he does is to solicit the ideas, exactly what are the problems. And consistently, the issue normally which comes out to do with roads, and also they need to set up let's say, set up hospital, and also government to complete Agenda 111. So as we begin now, the chiefs are telling him exactly their problems, and all, right after that, he will indicate his commitment to resolve their problem. When they vote for him to become president, he will sell his idea to them. That is, i.e., trying to bring support agriculture, support women in development, making passport application very, very flexible, and also helping women to have some soft loan for them to do their businesses, and also trying to construct a lot of roads or fix a lot of repairable roads in the various communities.
Danny, appreciate your time on this. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Alfred.
Daniel Opoko is a man with the Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia campaign team here on your Election Command Center. Flag bearer of the NDC, John Dramani Mahama, has also arrived in the OT region to kickstart his regional campaign tour. John Mahama, after taking a one-day break of his campaign to take part in the peace campaign on Sunday under the auspices of the Ghana Pentecostal Council, the Christian Council, and the Office of the National Chief Imam, this morning, John Mahama was in Kwame Krom, the Akoya constituency in the OT region. Man Komla Kluche has been moving with the flag bearer of the NDC.
University. Into region, NDC Abayfo for Ebano. Yeah, they see Abayfo University in region. Your policy, and it's a region, your family region. It was set on more regional hospital into your region. You best see regional hospital. Senebeya, Monfiha, Elko, Regional Hospital, Bium. Moamo Regional Hospital, Wotia. I if you dear Bia, Moya, and my promote, ever was our Regional Hospital.
That's John Mahama there in the OT region. Some 33 days to election day, December 7 here on your election command center. Let's cross over to the United States now. To spread our tentacles beyond the borders of Ghana. The U.S. goes to the polls. And Della Michelle is joining us right now from the United States. Let's have a quick conversation on this. Della, it's good to have you join us. I know it's afternoon where you are, correct?
Yes, it is. It's just about 1:30 p.m. here.
So good afternoon from Ghana, but it's evening here. Yes, but we do know already that some persons have cast their votes already. So a little over 76.4 million of the voters have cast their ballots, correct?
It is indeed the case. And you know that due to the possibility of having an absentee ballot as well, many people have also participated in that when the early voting started in different states at different times of the month.
So tell me, you've been interacting with a number of the that's the persons with different origins in the U.S. and also the persons of color in the various communities in the United States. What's been the sentiment going into the election?
I would say that somebody put it clearly today. You know, when you have a result or when you have a test and you're expecting the results, that anxiety is out there. You know, you just don't know what's going to happen. You can't say, you're just anxious, hoping that all things goes well. That is the general feeling that we are having here now. Many people are anticipating that their candidate of choice is actually going to get the 270 electoral college votes that they need. So just to make our viewers and listeners aware, it is not tomorrow that we're going to have the president sworn in. What they are fighting for tomorrow on November 5 is to get that 270 electoral votes that they need, you know, and then on January 6th, that's when we're going to see the new president of the United States being sworn in. So now candidates are working assiduously to get that 270 figure. There has been speculations that when it started, Kamala was already leading with about 226, with Donald Trump having like 218. But as we all know, and all of us been monitoring the news, it's really looking tight right now, especially in areas that are very crucial in this U.S. elections. That is the swing states. You're talking about Pennsylvania, you're talking about Michigan, you're talking about all these very key states that they are looking at. So generally there is that feel of anxiety, you know, because nobody knows if people really went out to vote, if people really participated in the elections, like the early voting, and even they're going to participate in the voting process tomorrow. Also, there were concerns about the fact that the absentee ballots had some, you know, issues here and there in many states. So people now have to leave the states that they were requesting this ballot in and then now move to the original state. So for instance, if I was, you know, originally in Arizona and I've moved to Maryland and I've been here in Maryland here for like a year or two, and so because I'm not originally in Arizona as it stands, I can request for an absentee ballot that is going to help me to cast my vote. People did cast their votes. They did request for the absentee ballots, but some of them, it took so long for them to get it. So, and also there was a caveat to when you can actually submit your absentee ballots. For others, they did submit, but then it was tampered with. So now they've had to go back to their original state. So that means I have to leave Maryland and go to Arizona. Alfred, you know how crucial it is when you're trying to travel last minute. It means you're going to see a surge in flight fares or a surge in, transportation fares. So people are really concerned about it. But for all of them that I've been speaking to, it looks like everybody's really understanding the importance of this particular elections, and they're ready to play their part. I know for a fact that the Kamala team, some of the team actually is in Pennsylvania doing the groundwork. I've spoken to a member of the Harris Walls team who says, listen, we are in Pennsylvania. We are moving, on foot to go knock door to door and tell people come out and vote if you're unable to participate in the early voting. So it's just general anxiety because nobody knows who actually did go out and who actually they voted for. So that is what we are having, that feeling here. It's a little bit stuff, in the atmosphere.
and we can feel it as well down here. But finally, before I let you go, I mean, we're seeing that the late polls also showing less than 1 percentage point margin of victory, and that's more like a toss-up. It's you have them all sitting on the tenterhooks, not knowing exactly what's going to happen, isn't it?
Oh, of course. And listen, for people who actually do believe in the Democrat Party and do believe in Kamala Harris, they're saying that she needs to win by a landslide because knowing who her opponent is, that is Donald Trump. He's done this before, where he contested the election sometime in 2020, and we saw what happened, on January 6th. So there's the fear that if the margin is that small, he's likely to contest that election, and they don't want a repetition of what happened. But key for voters are the issues that both candidates have raised. When you look at the Kamala team, for instance, she's raised issue with regard to reproductive rights. The women having the ability to say no or to control their own body. You having the right over your body. This goes beyond abortion, Alfred. It goes all the way to assessing even reproductive, medications or plans that you need as a couple. You being able to say, I think this is life-threatening, so I need to have this surgery, or I need to have this procedure as soon as possible. So for many, this actually sounds well with them. But we all know the economy is hurting, right? The inflation figures might look right on, statistically, they might look like, oh, they're doing the best. But if you don't feel it in your pocket, if you don't feel it at the pump stations, if you don't feel it in the grocery stores, then it's not doing anything for you. So many also believe in that, listen, when Trump comes in, he's going to give us a better economy because we want to feel it in our pockets. We want to go to the grocery store and still be able to get our eggs for 99 cents. We want to go and get our bread for $3.99. So these are the things that are very crucial to the people that are participating in this year's elections. Aside the fact that we are seeing a number of new voters, the issues are key. The issues about the women and their rights of their body, the issues about economy, the issues about the state of the border. These things have become very, very critical. And people are hoping that when they give their candidates the nod, they would go and do what they actually promised that they would do. So this election, Alfred, I think you need to pray for us as well, especially for those who are here.
We have a lot of prayer to pray for ourselves here.
I'm telling you. Anyway. So the thing is that when you see the citizens moving in a certain way, you are a legal resident of the US, you begin to ask a lot of questions because sometimes you're tempted to think that these things don't affect you until you really go down and realize that you are actually also going to be affected by how the election is going to turn out, and there's so many concerns, not just in the US, globally. People keep saying, hey, what's going to happen tomorrow? But we are praying to God. We are praying to God that whichever candidate that, has the right nod and has the right direction for the U.S. People won't get the nod. But I'm sure that you know where people are going for.
Well, and Della, thank you so much for this. We connect again on Ghana tonight, later tonight. So thank you so much for this.
Thank you, Alfred. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
As always. That's Della Michelle. Together with all our colleagues across the United States. So stay with us here on your Election Command Center as we spread our tentacles beyond the borders of Ghana, giving you reports of what's happening in the United States. When America coughs, the whole world catches cold. So we will tell you how Ghana should also, or why Ghana should be interested in what's happening in the United States. On behalf of the rest of the team, thank you for staying with us. Join me at 10 p.m. on TV3 for